Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ron Dayton with the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce, and it is my pleasure today to welcome you to our webinar with Generation West Virginia, and just to have the opportunity to learn all of the exciting things they are doing. I'm just going to apologize ahead of time with the background noise right now. I'm over at the Capitol today and have been here all day. But I wanted to have the opportunity to be on and introduce Melanie and Alex. It's an honor of mine to be able to serve on the board of directors for Generation West Virginia, and they do just absolutely fantastic work. So just a quick couple of housekeeping items before we get going. If you have questions, during today's webinar, the easiest way is to type them into the Q&A box, or to go ahead and simply type them into the chat box, because I think there will be several questions that you may have. We're hoping to have a very good presentation and then just a Q&A following that. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and just introduce Melanie and Alex. And first I'll introduce Melanie, who is the Fellowship Director for Generation West Virginia. Melanie joined the organization in October of 2022, and she was born and raised just outside of Lewisburg, West Virginia. She also spent nearly 5 years supporting experimental learning programs at both Virginia Tech and Duke University, experiential learning programs. We're so glad that she is back in West Virginia. She is back in Greenbrier County, and she lives there with her fiance, Josh, and their 2 dogs, Coda and Cooper. Alex has been the executive director of Generation West Virginia for over a year now, and is just doing some fantastic things with the organization. Previously, she served as the executive director of the Wheeling Heritage, which is a congressionally designated nonprofit organization that catalyzes the revitalization of Wheeling. She did some fantastic work there, which is why the board of Generation West Virginia went to her to recruit her in. And they have some really fascinating programs that are going to be very beneficial to the employer community, very beneficial to young West Virginians. And so, Melanie, Alex, thank you both so much for being here today. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and turn the program over to you.
Thanks, Brian. What a great opportunity this is to chat with you all today. Thanks for being here. We're excited to talk about the work we're doing and how it can support the needs of employers like yourselves, and also support young people across the state. So today we're going to be talking about developing the next generation of West Virginia's workforce. If you're not too familiar with Generation West Virginia, we are a statewide nonprofit, and our mission is to attract, retain, and advance young people in the Mountain State. And for us, that's really turned into ensuring that workforce opportunities are available for young people. And we do, some innovative workforce solutions and programs to support the needs of young people and employers in the state. So I'll go over briefly just kind of our program portfolio, but today we'll really be focusing on the fellowship. Our New Force program is a tech training program. It's a free program. We actually provide stipends to trainees so they can have a living wage to go through the program. It is a 6-month program that supports really helps people become software developers with no previous experience, and they're going from jobs being servers or kind of part-time careers to being software developers, making starting salary about $56,000 a year. Really impressive program that we're really happy to support employer needs and help young people find career paths here. Broadband is a foundational piece of our work. A lot of the career opportunities today are remote. And if we want communities to be able to thrive and for people to be able to access these jobs in this kind of new economy that we're in, broadband access has to be a part of the conversation. So we're supporting communities in writing and getting ready for broadband funding. So far, we've written grants that have gotten 30,000 people connected and about $45 million of federal funding into communities in partnership with the State Broadband Office, which we're really proud of. The Career Connector is a program in which we share job opportunities across the state with young people, and we also support young people in getting their resumes ready, getting ready for an interview, and connecting them to job opportunities in West Virginia, because as we all know, there are great opportunities here, just sometimes young people aren't finding the jobs and employers aren't finding the really talented young people for them. And finally, the fellowship program, which is what we're really going to be talking about today, and we'll go in depth in that. But I want to do a little table setting first. Talk about the reason why all of this is so important. So I would not be surprised if all of us have seen this map before, or a map very similar to it. But this is looking at the 2020 census and really looking at, I guess from 2010 to 2020, the percent change in population. And no surprise, right, that West Virginia has lost population over those years. And I also don't think it's too surprising that a lot of that population loss is young people. Over the last 10 years, over 68,000 college graduates have left the state, and that's public college graduates. So the data around even the private college graduates is not, we don't have that. So it's definitely more than 68,000. And the orange here is not great. That's the population loss, right? So there are a few counties that are not orange, but all of those orange ones have lost population in those 10 years. But that's not stopping things from happening in West Virginia. So there's some things working, right? Because these are just some snippets I pulled over, this last several months. Some of these really great announcements that are happening in West Virginia. There are more businesses locating here. And of course, there are businesses that are already here that are trying really hard to attract and retain talent in their businesses. Current data shows that West Virginia is kind of top of the pack here with job openings. 65,000 job openings in November of last year. And we're really kind of at the peak here as the highest percentage of job openings in the entire country. Likewise with hiring, we're really high up in hiring. 36,000 workers hired. Again, very high number of hiring in the state. So people are finding jobs, but they're not necessarily retaining those employees. So again, kind of top, we're kind of up in this higher third here of people quitting jobs. And so very fascinating, I think, to think that like while hiring practices are working, there might be something around retention that's not necessarily clicking to keep people in their roles. And as we're talking about the next generation of the workforce, we're really talking about Gen Y or millennials and Gen Z. And as you can see, this population becomes increasingly important for all of us as these two demographics really start to overtake the workforce. And looking at 2030, we really need to be thinking about these two populations as we think about company growth. So I think these stats are really fascinating. Looking at millennials and how they're engaged in work, so many millennials are currently they just don't feel engaged in their company. It kind of feels like they're kind of coming in, punching the time clock, doing what they need to do, and they're missing that sense of connection to the company in a way that encourages them or makes them feel like they want to stay there. And the ones that are not engaged say they'll likely switch jobs in a year. And to me, the craziest statistics that Melanie and we both checked this stat like 5 times. We could not believe that this was true, but it is. According to Gallup, 93% of millennials who took a new position left their company instead of advancing within their company. So if we're seeing that many people kind of changing jobs, they're not just moving up, they're moving out. And sometimes in West Virginia, moving out means outside the borders too. We see a lot of people who, when it's that pivot moment for them in their careers, they are making the choice to do something completely different. And they are leaving the state for what they feel is a better opportunity. And oftentimes people are coming back into the state after a while. But we really want to stop those people from leaving the state to what they may feel is like kind of a grass is always greener situation. But 93% is a shocking statistic. So these are not, spoiler alert, the retention strategies we're going to be talking about today. I think these are some retention strategies that are often thought of as key retention strategies for a younger demographic in the workforce. Having fun at work, bringing your dog to work, open office environments, and frankly, even higher pay. Not to say that higher pay isn't important, but that is not a key retention strategy or a key thing that is driving millennial retention. There are some really key things that data shows are working and that we have seen work really well. Open and approachable management and like these management styles in general, I think are worth really talking about. I think oftentimes as supervisors or as managers, we look at, a set line in an organizational chart as all of these people have the same deliverables, all of these people kind of have the same workflow. And what we're learning is the type of support that people need, that young people need, is different based on where they are in their careers, the relationships they have with their managers. It feels very much case by case basis instead of kind of a blanket. And what millennials are asking for is a strengths-based approach. They are asking for managers to come in and support them, pinpoint their strengths with them, and support them in developing those strengths further, instead of just kind of, checking in, making sure things are going well. They want meaningful feedback, and they want it consistently, right? So it's, again, this kind of interesting relationship with an employee that millennials want more of. They want more face time, they want more engagement, and they want feedback that is related to what they're doing now and presently, and not annually, right? We all know that you never want an annual review to happen without any, it should never be a surprise what you're hearing in an annual review. And I think millennials even more are saying, yeah, like this should be a continual conversation. We really want to know how employers are feeling, how our managers are feeling, and how we can have a collaborative relationship ongoing. And that is not to say that millennials do not want to feel accountable. In fact, that is, again, a very key retention strategy, is helping them understand where roadblocks are and how they can build accountability and feel more tied to their work. So these are kind of like the management things that I think this generation and Gen Z, it feels a little bit different, and this type of like hands-on support feels much stronger for this generation. And then another kind of bucket of strategies is the development of young people. And I think that's really why we're here today, is to talk about what are development strategies that work to retain people. And so I'm going to let Melanie kind of run through these things, but these are the three main buckets that we've heard time and time again are key.
Thanks, Alex. So we understand that millennials are not engaged, and they're looking for other job opportunities that meet their needs. And so, as she mentioned, here are a few development strategies that Gallup points out that I wanted to specifically highlight. So millennials are looking for opportunities to learn and grow, and specifically opportunities that provide professional development or skill growth. And then along with this, millennials are looking for a sense of purpose or belonging, both in their communities and workplaces. So according to Gallup, 59% of millennial job seekers report that opportunities to learn and grow are extremely important to them when searching for a new job. Comparatively, 44% of Gen Xers and 41% of baby boomers say that the same thing about these types of job opportunities. And so millennials assign the most importance to this job attribute, representing the greatest difference between what this generation values versus what other generations value in a new job. And so in general, millennials' overwhelming desire to grow and develop makes sense. Millennials are in relatively early stages of their careers. They want to continuously learn and grow so that they can succeed and then in turn find stability. And then overall, I just want to mention that I think that we're really looking for a work environment that offers challenges and developmental opportunities. But more specifically, 87% of millennials rated career growth and development opportunities as important to them in a job. However, the Gallup poll mentions, or the Gallup poll that we're citing throughout this presentation, points out that one of the most consistent criticisms aimed at millennials is that they haven't earned their right to receive developmental opportunities, meaning they shouldn't expect a company to invest in them until they can show that they're worthy of such an investment. However, I want to point out that I feel like it's important to understand that millennials don't feel entitled to this investment, and rather feel that they're empowered and they're ready to grow. And so millennials are really eager to expand their knowledge and skills. They want to be useful. They want their work and their workplace to have meaning to them. In general, millennials view their job as growth opportunities and look to their managers to help them progress. In other words, we as millennials feel that development shouldn't only come through tenure. And so we essentially want managers to find ways to invest in their future, hone their leadership skills, and coach them to be the best workers that they can be. And then in a recent Forbes article, they discuss one's need to have a sense of community and engagement. And so belonging, they said, is a fundamental part of being a human, of course. And they cited a recent MIT study that that found that we as humans crave interaction in the same region of our brains that we crave food, which is very interesting. And they also go on to point out that belonging is a necessary ingredient for our performance individually, in teams, and for our organizations, because we can more effectively engage and bring our best selves to work when we have a sense of belonging or a sense of community. And even more importantly, belonging is good for our well-being as humans, and it's important for one's individual physical, mental, emotional health. So when considering this and looking at our own companies and communities across the state, I hope you all are asking yourselves the question, what do we do now? What do we do next? And so one way is through the Generation West Virginia's fellowship program. This is a 9-month program designed to help millennials grow their professional strengths to become valuable leaders in West Virginia. And so we use a 4-pronged approach to address professional development, community engagement, and networking. And so fellows will, 1, complete an advanced professional development curriculum that'll focus on in-demand skills. 2, they'll get to form long-lasting bonds with fellows in other companies as well as across different sectors. And 3, they'll get to learn from industry leaders across the state. And 4, finally, they'll get to develop an appreciation for the rich history and beauty of the state. And so how are we doing this? Well, fellows will get to travel to 5 different locations in West Virginia. These in-person sessions will take place from Thursday evening to Saturday morning. And so to give you an idea of what this looks like, we would arrive on a Thursday afternoon and check in and have some sort of dinner where fellows will have the opportunity to network with local leaders or local business owners in that specific region. And then Friday would be our bulk of events. And so starting off, we would have some sort of professional development activity with a guest speaker. For example, when we travel to Matewan and Williamson, West Virginia, in the southern part of the state, we'll have someone come talk to us, talk to our fellows about how to better their public speaking skills, or maybe in a different location, having a professional development activity on managing up. So really honing in on those leadership skills that they're looking for. And next, we would have some sort of inspiration piece. This is some sort of local professional or local leader in the area, and someone who's, maybe helped grow their community or who has a really cool business that's unique to the area. And this is just to provide some inspiration to our fellows, as well as showing them more about what that specific region would have to offer. And also, fellows won't just get to spend time in the classroom in the specific region. They'll also get to do a lot of really cool things like white water rafting in the New River Gorge or ATV riding on the Hatfield and McCoy trails. And finally, before we finish up with that weekend in-person session, we'll have a learning piece. And this is something that is going to provide local history or information about the area, such as like a museum tour. So when we're in Southern West Virginia, again, we would be visiting the Mine Wars Museum for a group tour to learn about the history of the Mine Wars. And so as you'll see on the slide here, we have the dates for our in-person sessions. Along with this, though, there will be 4 virtual sessions that are built in between these in-person events. And very similar, during these virtual sessions, we'll take a few hours on a Friday afternoon to join some sort of guest speaker who can provide even more professional development or soft skill training. And so this is another course for them to really hone in on those leadership skills. Overall, our hope through the program is to encourage young professionals to truly invest in themselves and invest in themselves here specifically, to create a sense of community, to become the next generation of leaders within the state. That's really what we're hoping that this program will accomplish. So how does GWV Fellowship support millennials and their need for growth and development? So this program, that we're providing young professionals with ways to develop their soft skills and enhance their professional growth. And while we're encouraging them to build on those skills, we're also challenging them to expand their networks so that they could create a sense of belonging or a sense of community, both within the community of West Virginia and their workplace in general. And so we see that millennials are really longing for opportunity and growth, as we've shown you, and supporting them through this program reveals that you are investing in just that. Along with this, though, I think that there's they're hopefully going to see how much West Virginia has to offer, and will create a community with other fellows as they grow their network as professionals together. And then along with all of this, When you as an employer support an employee through the fellowship, you become what we call a next generation employer. And so when your employees admitted to the fellowship program and you as an employer sponsored them through this program, your company will receive a kit that includes a digital copy of the seal that's like pictured here. And this seal can be placed on, your company website or maybe some marketing materials. And this just signals that your organization or your company supports growth and development for young professionals in West Virginia. Overall, the fellowship program is designed again for those young professionals that are still in the early stages of their career. Maybe they have a few years under their belt, but still have a lot to learn before assuming, leadership roles, and they're really ready to grow and further themselves in their career and in their communities. And so, if you have someone that maybe comes to mind and you're ready to invest in their growth, then we invite you to visit our website for more information on all of this. And then on the next slide, we've also got some contact information for you in case you have any further questions and want to reach out after. That's it for me.
Thanks, Melanie. And just to add to Melanie's great presentation, the fellowship right now, we're accepting applications now for this program. It's really created in partnership with employers across the state who have voiced the need for this type of support, and they don't have it internally right now. A lot of small companies don't have like really strong professional development programs, and they see the need for those. So we've created this to be responsive to those needs. So applications are open through the end of February, and we're happy to talk more about that, answer any questions about that program or other work that we do.
Well, thank you so much, Alex and Melanie, for this great presentation showcasing all that West Virginia has to offer, especially for our millennials. And while people, just remember, if you do have a question, just leave it right there in the chat. We will make sure that we can get to it. But while you might be deciding on a question, I'd like to know, or let people on the call know, how much the fellowship is and what's included.
Sure. So the fellowship program is a total of $2,500, and this covers lodging, food, activities for all of the different in-person sessions. And so it's just a $2,500 flat rate to participate in this program.
Fantastic. Are there any last notes that you would like to provide?
No last notes from us, but geez, if there aren't any questions, I'd love to, spend some time chatting about this with any employers that are interested. And we have some other programs that are, I think, definitely of note to, like the Career Connector program, which I think will help support another really pressing need for employers right now, which is finding young talent for their roles, which is in the works right now too. So yeah, happy to answer any questions offline as well.
Fantastic. Well, everyone on the call, you can see the information for Melanie and Alex is right there up on your screen. I'm Kaylin George with the West Virginia Chamber. You can also reach out to me as well. And if you'd like to rewatch this video, it will be posted on our YouTube page, as well as our website, wvchamber.com. And with that, I'd like to thank you both for your time today.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.